folks. Well, time is getting short here. Not a lot of games left. It does seem to be some wreckage in the Leafs' wake. Pittsburgh found out the hard way about their playoff chances. They're hanging on by a thread. New Jersey, no, out. And they get him again tonight. Anyways, there's just a few games left. There's still a lot to figure out for the Leafs, and we're going to break it all down for you right here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone, your place for Leafs hockey.
Hey folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach. We love you, KD. I'm the Diva, and we're here to talk all things Leafs. I'm coming to you from a very rainy downtown Toronto, Coach. Where are you at, though?
So I'm in a hotel room in Hanover, Germany. And believe it or not, Devo, I think I mentioned this a few pods ago. We've got a subscriber base here in Hanover, Germany. And I wrote it down. We've got Mark Bakuniak. We got Eric Bakuniak. We got, hold on a second. Did I mention Mark? What? No, that's two. But
that's
hey,
not bad.
I can grow a palm here.
That's right. Well, that's why you're there, Coach. Got to grow the fan base. Speaking of such, folks, you got to ring the bell and subscribe. A lot of you aren't doing that. Even you folks in Hanover in Germany need to do that. Also, like and share the video. Help spread the word. Then more people will ring the bell, and it spreads the audience. And lastly, and most importantly, leave a comment. We love it. Helps us get better. And we always discuss the issues that matter most here on the pod. Speaking of which, Coach, about a month ago, if you were so inclined to muck around on one of these things, you probably would have read a lot of hate towards Mr. 78 Brodie. He, without question, has not had a very good season. But Keefe pushed the pause button on him for a couple of games, and he's really come back. I dare say to his old self, pretty steady, tough situations, moving the puck well. He's played both on the left and right side of the ice and performed swimmingly, like the guy we used to take for granted of. Coach, what do you think about TJ Brodie?
I think he's been great. I was mucking around on this. I had a teenager show me how to use it and increase the font so I could see it. And it puzzled both of us, right? Mm-hmm. All the hate about Brodie. And now, he was not very good, but that's a guy that's been really, really solid through his whole career. So, it puzzled it. The pause seems to have worked. I'll tell you, like, he hasn't scored in a while. I think it's 100 and something games.
Yep.
You don't need him to score. What you do is you need him just to be steady, and he's been really steady. But he's chipped in with some, like, a big-time assist on a Matthews goal there. Took it around the net, found him on the back door. Yep. One to Nyes as well last game. So, yeah, he's moving well. And, hey, you probably called this a long time ago. He's played on the right side, as you just said. He played with Giordano. They got for a couple games that whole Calgary thing back.
Yeah,
he's looked like he hasn't missed a beat on the right, and that's really key when you look at who's going to play in the top six. If he can go left or right, it gives you much more flexibility.
Sure.
Where I think it's fair to say he was better on the left for certain points during the year. But hey, who wouldn't be strong side, right? Yep. But it's an unfortunate fact in this roster. Some guys that shoot left have to be on the right side. McCabe's been good, and I expect Brodie to be good as well come playoff time.
Yeah, I think that's right. We've both talked about it. I certainly called it. Speaking of calling it, you called a few games ago dead on the score.
Yeah, Montreal, yeah. Or no, Pittsburgh. 4-2 win with Matthews scoring. Now, folks, he's got 60-some goals. Like, calling Matthews scoring, I'm not out on a limb with that one.
But. Yeah. I think you called the Habs. I think I called Pittsburgh because I got the overtime win, 3-2. And I also called Jersey getting eliminated by the Leafs, and that has come to pass. Um, Interesting to see what happens. The games are starting. When we last talked, the games were all kind of a bit important for everyone. Now they're starting to not really
Yeah.
matter. So we'll see. There's still a few things to mop up. Certainly, we haven't guaranteed where things are going to land, even in the Leafs conference right now. But it's starting to shore up, and I think we should know something in the next couple of days. I believe. Speaking of the D and guys that have been not really in the lineup, Edmondson. What are we doing there? What's going to happen with this guy? He hasn't played a lot of games for Toronto. Um, we're starting to see Brody shore things up. I have to think at this point, you know, 44 is a lock.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
22 is a lock.
Yep.
I kind of feel that Brody 78's a lock at this point. Um, I think we both believe that the coach loves Lyubushkin, so he'll
Yeah.
be in the lineup, particularly with his curve. Is Edmondson one of those guys? Is he in the lineup here? Or
I think he is, and it's good that he's playing against New Jersey tonight. And so his comments today after the pregame skate were just banged up. And if it was the playoffs, he wouldn't have missed time. He would have played.
yeah,
So that's good. I do think it's important that he plays some games before the playoffs. So
yes,
that's a guy who has to, he's not super quick, so he's got to get into some kind of rhythm to be ready. But yeah, no, I think he plays. And then the other guy's Benoit, and so but all those guys are left. Benoit, Edmondson, Riley, they're all left. So
mm-hmm.
Brody's going to have to play the right if Brody plays.
Yep.
We talked I don't know, a couple weeks ago about Liljegren being in the mix. Well, Liljegren, he just started skating yesterday.
I
I
don't
don't
think he
know if he's
plays.
going to play a game or two. And how could you throw that guy in after having
Yep,
missed, I don't know, what, 4 weeks?
yep.
And I'd see him outside looking in now.
I agree. Well, for multiple reasons, but first and foremost, 78 is back and he's playing well on the right hand side. Uh,
Yeah,
I would like to see in the next couple of games, not even the final two, but I would like to see Edmondson play with Brody. I think that would be an interesting combination to see.
yeah, it'd be interesting. So I'd like to see that. I wouldn't mind also seeing Brody play with Benoit.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have a defensive matchup, right? I don't think you want Riley and Lyubushkin, although they've had most of the minutes this year. I would prefer, with the way Jake McCabe is playing, to have McCabe and Edmondson if he's right, because they're good. They're physical.
Mm-hmm.
If they can be a lockdown pair, now you got Benoit and Brody, and those guys. Brody has struggled, like we've already talked about. Benoit is probably better in third pair minutes,
Mm-hmm.
so I wouldn't mind seeing Brody and Benoit play together. But yeah, now's the time, right? You got to mix and
Yep.
match.
Yeah, and it's
So
good. I mean, you got to get some of these guys some playing time with their partners. I mean,
yeah, yeah, right.
it matters, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I saw something today on the old Twitter thing, the machine. Somebody saying, "Hey, here's my ideal game one lineup," and they had Yarncroc centering the third line. Well, okay, number one, Yarncroc hasn't played in forever. Number two, he's never played center for the Leafs,
Yeah,
not once.
yeah,
And so you're going to start game one with them? No, guys have to get in these last four games and get some reps, and let's see where we are.
absolutely.
You could slot him in on the wing. He's not going to hurt you. He's a pro, but that's a big stretch to say he's going to play center. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, agreed. And we I think we teased maybe in the last pod, and I think we're doing it again because I don't think we're ready to start throwing out our ideal
No,
lineups
right?
yet. I will say this from a lineup point of view up front. I would not break up the band in terms of Domi, Bertuzzi, and Matthews. I think that should be your number one line. How everything else falls underneath, how you want to spread the wealth, how you want guys to
Yeah,
line in. I I haven't seen the defensive stats really take an enormous blow. Um, having Matthews play with those guys, certainly the offense is there, which means you can spread the wealth, and not just the offensive wealth, but really the defensive wealth of having Marner move down the lineup a little bit. And I think that really that can only help, particularly with Tavares if he's going to be matching up. That's the way I see it, anyways. But
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to break this down in detail when we get into it, the before the first round. But
yeah,
I think you're right. We've complained. Leaf fans have complained. We certainly have all year, most of the year, about Domi not doing much and Bertuzzi not doing much. It took them
yeah,
so long to get going. Now they're going. Keep them where they are.
that's right. That's right. And Bertuzzi's really going.
Yeah, it's got
Like,
20.
I mean, when I remember there was a time when we were looking and he had 3 goals, and this was in 2024. We're not talking back in October. So he's done all this damage really in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So
I was saying he was scoring about once a month, like
yeah,
married guys.
that's right. That's right. All right. Speaking about scoring and or not doing so much, let's start. Let's start with not doing so much, and let's talk about the power play first.
Yeah.
Um, Geez, coach, it's tough to look around the conference and see Tampa on such a tear. They are scoring on the power play every time there's a whistle, it seems like. Their power play is unstoppable of late. The Leafs cannot buy a goal on the power play. What is up?
Well, yeah, Tampa. That's how they do it. That's how they
Yeah,
win series, right? Is they're just kind of hanging around 5-on-5, and their special teams are great. Um, in terms of the Leafs, yeah, it struggled for a while. Part of that was Marner, yes, but part of that was not having a guy at the top. Remember, they tried Connor Timmins for a little while. They tried Liljegren when he wasn't there, when he wasn't hurt for a little while. So there's personnel stuff, but I think actually lately, Devo, everyone's looking to defer a little too much to Matthews to try
yeah.
and get him
They're
his
trying to
goals.
get him his goal.
Everyone's looking at him, and they already key on him anyway. But like Domi's guilty of that 5-on-5 a little bit. He's always looking for Matthews, but he finds him enough. That's okay. But
Yeah,
on the power play, yeah, I would take a page out of KD's book. Remember, we've talked
yeah.
all the time for hundreds, well over 100 pods with
Hmm.
KD, and he would say that you need shots,
Yeah.
get it in and shoot it. And so
Cross the
if
wingers and shoot. Right?
yeah, if they're shading towards Matthew's side, which they do, you could try and force it in there all the time. But how about shooting? How about Nylander shooting from the other side and him going in? You'll get a rebound that way. Tavares will well, I don't care who scores. I'd love Matthews to get 70,
Yeah.
but we do have to get it going. So shots.
Well, and this is another thing. A lot of people several years ago, when the Leafs were sort of a sharp shooting team, high possession numbers, and they passed way too much and frustrated a lot of people. This team isn't doing that. They're also dominant in the faceoff circle. So getting whistles, getting stops isn't the end of the world. You're getting the
Yeah.
puck back on the draw. I agree with you. I think they've also showed that they're playing with a little bit more jam. Maybe you spread the wealth on the power play. I mean, it's not working. Maybe put a couple stars down on the second unit, and when Matthews isn't out there, they get to go out and score some goals too. It's not the end of the world. We want Matthews to get his 70. He didn't need a lot of help, extra help, back in October, November, December, January. Don't force it now. Like, let's start scoring some goals.
Yeah,
Um,
he's getting a lot. The bulk of his goals 5-on-5 anyway. Set a Leaf
that's
record for the most 5-on-5 goals. He's right up there with the seasons of the last 20 years in five on
that's
five
right.
scoring. It's yeah,
That's right.
it'll be okay.
And I guess
Hey, I wouldn't mind though. Can we get him out when there's an empty net? What's
yeah,
the deal in that last game, New Jersey? Bertuzzi scored. Why isn't Matthews out there then?
yeah. Speaking of Matthews, 70. Is he going to
Yeah.
get 70? I mean, He's dreadfully close.
Look, yeah. And then that leads into, if he's close, do you play him in all 4 games and all that stuff, right? I wouldn't put it past him. My goodness, he's scoring at a goal a game clip. He's got four goals to go, 4 games. I think it definitely could happen.
Yeah.
I really hope he gets a couple here, against New Jersey, or he gets at least 2 or 3 with the New Jersey and Detroit games. Um, but the challenge is this: if he wasn't chasing that, you really wouldn't want him to play against Florida. He's got nothing to prove against Florida, and he will be a target,
Yes.
right? And then who knows? Like you talked already about Tampa, that might mean something to them. It might not, that last game, but I flip flopped on this. 70 is a huge accomplishment. I think it matters to him. You could see how he reacted when he got 60. Like he doesn't react very much, but when the big things happen, he's in it for that. He's aware. So
Yeah.
I would love to give him a shot. You're not going to get a chance to get 70 very often. And so that was my mindset. But I flip flopped on that. I think he's got a rest in the last game or 2, and here's why. Today, I was reminded of Game 4, Tampa last year, where I went with a bunch of guys and watched those highlights, and they're down 4-1 with 11 minutes left in the third, and he scores the second goal, and he scores the third goal, and he's buzzing. And
Mhm.
so, really, what we want and what he ultimately wants is to win,
Yeah.
right? So we got to have him ready. God forbid you have him out there chasing a record and he gets
Oh.
hurt for whatever
Oh.
reason. I mean,
Yeah.
it's everyone should be fired if that happens, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully
No,
make some hay
it's
this
true.
weekend and we're done with it.
Well, and we touched on this in the last part with the power play. The whole team is trying to feed him.
Yeah.
The whole team wants him to get 70. If he were, I would love to see the look on everybody's faces because they're all chasing this as a team, which is, I think, a very good sign. It bodes well, I think, for the team that they're kind of all in this together. All right,
And then
yeah,
and then you get an argument, right?
yep,
So McDavid 100 assists. That's amazing. It's
yep,
amazing.
yep.
But McKinnon just had his 50th. He's having a huge year.
Mm-hmm.
Kucherov, man, he's having a big year too.
On
But
fire.
70 goals. So not since Mario, right? 70 goals is if he could hit that, he's absolutely in that discussion. Oh, by the way, 70 goals, it doesn't leave you much room to get cheap secondary assists, right? I
Yep.
mean, those are goals. And he's by far the best two-way player out of those guys.
Of
I'm
all
not
those
saying he
guys,
should
yep,
win it, but he's got to be in the discussion. And if he
no
gets
question.
70, maybe that carries the day.
I I
What a
I, I
loaded
agree.
heart race.
It
Loaded.
is really, and you make there's a strong case. All the guys you listed there. I don't know if Matthews is number one of those guys. His defensive stats are, as you say, better than
Yeah.
all of them. So he's goals and he's defense number 1 and 1. That might not be enough. There are some guys putting up incredible points numbers. You
Yeah.
see the criticism from the other fan bases. It's always interested to. I don't weigh in on the fray most of the time on that stuff. Kucherov has some things working against him. He does a lot of damage on the power play. Not a huge plus minus 5-on-5. I mean, I think he's barely even, which would lead you to believe that maybe he's not quite as dominant as you think. Matthews is not a one-trick pony. Any person who is making a suggestion that this is Brett Hall 2.0 has never, ever watched a Leaf game with 34 out there. He dominates hockey. Every coach circles his line, matches his line. He drives play, tilts ice, steals pucks, and dominates. Anyone who hasn't seen that has not watched a Leafs game this year. Now,
Hey,
I will
Devo.
say McKinnon does the same thing.
Yeah, he's pretty solid, pretty fast. Do you know who else says that he Matthews is not like Brett Hall?
Brett Hall.
Brett Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pierre LeBrun interviewed him. It was posted yesterday or something like that. Brett Hall's like, yeah, I scored 70. He went 72, 86, 70 in a
Yeah.
3-year span. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. But
Crazy.
he said himself, he scored like Ovi scored.
Yes.
He went to his
Went
spot,
to his
and he
spot,
was great at it,
and
right?
Oates
One
is just
timer.
feeding him.
He's like Matthews scores from everywhere. It's actually more impressive.
Yeah.
So that's Brett Hall, folks. That's not us just
Yeah.
jabbering at like
And also 5-on-5 and a ton of goals there. Like way more 5-on-5 goals. I mean, he's got way more goals than everybody. But
yeah,
he's got way more 5-on-5 goals than anybody. Like
yeah,
it's crazy how much more he has than anybody else. And he has got what, 2 empty netters now, or
yeah.
just one?
I
It's up.
think two now.
I
Yeah,
think it's 2.
yeah.
So he does his. These are real legit goals. Like real legit goals. So yeah, this isn't just we are in a new golden age of hockey. When you think of the folks that we've just listed, we barely talked about McDavid, but I mean he's an absolute phenom with the puck on his stick. He's just in a different gear. He's twice as fast as everybody out there,
Amazing.
and does things at a speed that no one can come close to. The only one maybe near it would be Nathan McKinnon, who is, and he is also putting up incredible statistics, dominant all over the ice. If I had to pick someone, I would probably pick him as the heart. And then you have Matthews, 70 goals on pace for really remarkable stuff. It's an incredible field, and Kucherov having a career year. And I know his stats aren't as gaudy as some of the people that we've listed here, but I'm going to say it anyways. Sid Crosby's had a pretty remarkable year as well.
Fantastic second half. Unbelievable.
And I think the fact that if they squeak into the playoffs, you could make a case there for him that he is the most valuable on his team.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. His back's got to be sore from carrying that team.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Everything you need to know about your Leafs. You know where to come. You come right here, and we'll have you covered right here on the OZone.